Okay, hands up. You're eating reasonably well. You're moving more than you used to. And yet, that belly. That stubborn, infuriating, seemingly immovable belly fat that appeared somewhere around 40 and has absolutely refused to leave since. Sound familiar? You are not alone. And here's the thing, it is probably not your fault. Because after 40, your body goes through specific biological changes that literally redirect fat storage to your abdomen. Changes that have nothing to do with willpower, nothing to do with laziness, and everything to do with science that most people never get told. Today, Nate tells you. Stay with me. Quick note, I'm not a doctor, nothing here is medical advice. Always check with your healthcare provider. And stick around, because coming up in a few minutes, I'm going to reveal the one thing that's depositing fat specifically around your belly after 40 that has absolutely nothing to do with what you're eating. I guarantee it's going to surprise you. Okay? Let's go! Let's start with something most people never hear from their doctor. Belly fat after 40 is not the same as belly fat at 25. It looks similar, it sits in the same place, but biologically, it is a completely different animal. The fat that accumulates around your abdomen after 40 is called visceral fat, and unlike subcutaneous fat, the fat just under your skin that you can pinch, visceral fat sits deep inside your abdominal cavity, surrounding your organs, wrapped around your liver, pancreas, and intestines. And visceral fat is not passive. It is not just stored energy sitting quietly waiting to be burned. Visceral fat is metabolically active. It produces inflammatory compounds called cytokines. It releases fatty acids directly into your liver. It drives insulin resistance. It increases cardiovascular risk. It promotes further fat storage. It is essentially a hormone-producing organ sitting inside your abdomen, and after 40, it starts growing for very specific biological reasons that most people never address because nobody ever explains them. Understanding why it happens after 40 is the first step to actually doing something about it. So let's go through the real causes, because I think some of these are going to genuinely surprise you. This is the big one, and it affects both men and women after 40, just through different hormones. For women, estrogen. Before menopause, estrogen actively directs fat storage to the hips and thighs, away from the abdomen. As estrogen declines through perimenopause and menopause, this protective effect disappears. Fat storage patterns shift dramatically. The body starts preferentially storing fat around the abdomen instead. This is not a lifestyle choice. This is biology responding to a fundamental hormonal shift. We covered this in the sugar video, link appears above, but its connection to belly fat is direct and significant. After 40, insulin resistance increases. Your cells become less responsive to insulin. Blood sugar stays elevated longer after meals. And chronically elevated insulin is one of the most potent fat-storing signals in your entire body, directing excess glucose specifically to visceral fat storage. The relationship works in both directions. Insulin resistance promotes visceral fat, and visceral fat promotes further insulin resistance, a vicious cycle that accelerates after 40 without intervention. We covered this in the gut health video too. Everything is connected. After 40, gut microbiome diversity decreases. And emerging research is showing a direct and significant link between gut bacteria composition and visceral fat accumulation. Specific gut bacteria influence how efficiently you extract calories from food, how much inflammation you carry, how your hormones are metabolized, and how fat is stored and distributed around your body. A landmark study found that specific gut bacteria profiles were directly associated with higher visceral fat, independent of diet and exercise. Your gut bacteria are literally influencing where your body stores fat. And we haven't even covered the most overlooked cause yet, the one that's operating silently in the background for most people over 40 right now. That's coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Here it is, the thing I promised you, the one that has absolutely nothing to do with what you're eating. Cortisol, your primary stress hormone. After 40, for most people, chronic stress increases. Career pressure, financial pressure, family pressure, health concerns, the accumulated weight of adult life. Cortisol has a direct and specific relationship with visceral fat. Visceral fat cells have a higher concentration of cortisol receptors than fat cells anywhere else in your body, which means when cortisol is chronically elevated, your body literally targets the abdomen for fat storage. High cortisol also increases appetite, specifically for high-calorie comfort foods, suppresses metabolism, breaks down muscle tissue, and disrupts sleep, which creates its own cascade of fat-storing hormones. Chronic stress after 40 is one of the most powerful drivers of belly fat accumulation, and it operates almost entirely independently of diet and exercise. You can eat perfectly and train regularly, but if your cortisol is chronically elevated, that belly fat is going nowhere. And here's the sleep connection, because everything is connected on this channel. Poor sleep directly elevates cortisol. We covered exactly why sleep changes after 40 in a dedicated video, link above. But the specific belly fat connection is this. Poor sleep every night means elevated cortisol every night means your body is literally depositing fat around your abdomen while you sleep. A study published in Sleep Journal found that adults sleeping less than 5 hours per night had significantly more visceral fat than those sleeping 7 to 8 hours, independent of diet, exercise, and every other lifestyle factor. Independent of diet and exercise. You can be doing everything else right, but if your sleep is poor after 40, that belly fat has a direct biological pathway to keep growing. Nate's fun fact of the week. Visceral fat actually produces its own estrogen in both men and women, which means carrying excess visceral fat after 40 actively disrupts your hormonal balance further, creating yet another vicious cycle. Your belly fat is literally a hormone-producing organ. Remarkable and slightly terrifying. Okay, solutions. And I want to be very specific here, because generic eat less, move more advice is not what this audience needs. You've heard that. It hasn't fully worked. Here's what the research actually shows works specifically for visceral fat after 40. Fix number 1, the right kind of exercise. Steady state cardio, long, slow walks, gentle cycling, while beneficial for general health, is relatively ineffective at specifically reducing visceral fat. What is specifically effective? High-intensity interval training, HIIT. Short bursts of intense effort followed by recovery periods. Studies consistently show HIIT produces significantly greater reductions in visceral fat than steady-state cardio, even at shorter durations. And resistance training. Building muscle directly addresses the hormonal changes after 40, raising testosterone, improving insulin sensitivity, and increasing metabolic rate at rest. 3 20-minute HIIT sessions per week, combined with 2 resistance sessions, produces measurable visceral fat reduction within 8 to 12 weeks in adults over 40. That's 60 minutes of intense exercise per week. Genuinely achievable. Fix number 2. Manage cortisol deliberately. Since cortisol is one of the primary drivers, managing it is non-negotiable. 10 minutes of meditation or deep breathing daily, shown to measurably reduce cortisol levels. Not wellness fluff, actual peer-reviewed research on cortisol reduction. Spending time in nature, even 20 minutes in a park, measurably reduces cortisol. Your nervous system responds to natural environments at a biological level. Reducing caffeine after 2 p.m. Caffeine stimulates cortisol production. Late caffeine keeps cortisol elevated into the evening, disrupting sleep and promoting overnight fat storage. Fix number 3. Dietary fiber. Increase dietary fiber, specifically soluble fiber, found in oats, legumes, and vegetables. Soluble fiber feeds beneficial gut bacteria and directly reduces visceral fat accumulation. A study found that every 10-gram increase in daily soluble fiber was associated with a 3.7% reduction in visceral fat over 5 years. From fiber, cheap, simple, available at any supermarket. Reduce refined carbohydrates and added sugar, the most direct dietary intervention for insulin resistance and visceral fat. We covered the full sugar story in our dedicated video, link appears above. Fix number 4. Prioritize sleep. We've established the direct sleep, cortisol, visceral fat pathway. Fixing sleep is therefore fixing belly fat through a direct biological mechanism. 7 to 9 hours, consistent sleep and wake times. Cool dark bedroom, no alcohol within 3 hours of bed. Magnesium glycinate before sleep, covered in the magnesium video. Every one of those sleep improvements directly reduces cortisol, which directly reduces visceral fat accumulation. Sleep is not a lifestyle luxury after 40, it is a metabolic intervention. Here's where we land. Belly fat after 40 is not a willpower problem. It is not a laziness problem. It is a biology problem with specific, identifiable, addressable causes. Hormonal changes directing fat to your abdomen, cortisol from chronic stress specifically targeting visceral fat, insulin resistance promoting fat storage, gut bacteria influencing fat distribution, poor sleep driving the whole cycle forward every single night. But every single one of those causes has a direct intervention. HIIT and resistance training, cortisol management, dietary fiber and reduced sugar, sleep optimization, reduced alcohol. None of it is easy, but all of it is possible. And now you understand why, which makes the how significantly more motivating. Your homework this week. Identify your biggest cortisol driver. Work, sleep, alcohol, relationships. Whatever it is, just name it. Awareness is the first step. Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you identify. And what health topic do you want Nate to cover next? Something affecting you after 40 that nobody properly explains. Drop it below. Enough interest and it goes straight on the list. Your channel, your topics. And if I earned a thumbs up today, go ahead and hit it. Helps more people over 40 find this channel and finally get answers that actually make sense, which is literally the whole point. I'm Nate. This is Geek Your Health. Stay curious, manage your cortisol, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.